You are not weak. You were never weak. Not in the way you've been led to believe. Because if you truly were weak, if there was nothing within you worth fighting for, you wouldn't still be here. You wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be searching for something deeper, questioning your reality, trying to understand why something inside you refuses to settle. Weakness does not question. Weakness does not seek. Weakness does not feel the quiet tension between where you are and where you know you could be. But you do, and that matters more than you think. So no, what you call weakness is something far more dangerous, something far more subtle. You are not weak. You are trapped. Trapped in patterns you didn't consciously choose. Trapped in thoughts that repeat themselves until they feel like truth. Trapped in a silent cycle of fear. A cycle that does not always look like fear. Sometimes it looks like hesitation. Sometimes it feels like overthinking. Sometimes it disguises itself as waiting, as logic, as not the right time. But underneath all of it, it is still fear. Quiet, consistent, and controlling. And the worst part? You don't even realize how deep it goes. Not at first, because it blends into your daily life, into your decisions, your habits, your identity. Until one day, it no longer feels like something affecting you. It feels like who you are. There is a truth most people will never face. Not because it is hidden, but because it demands something most are unwilling to give. Honesty. A truth that warriors understood long before the modern world began to distract the mind, before comfort became a priority, before noise replaced reflection. A truth they carried into every decision, every moment of fear, every step into the unknown. The truth is this: fear does not just stop you. It does not simply block your path for a moment. It conditions you, quietly, repeatedly, until it becomes part of you. It reshapes your decisions, not only the big ones, but the small choices you make every day. It reshapes your identity, the way you see yourself, the limits you believe in. And over time, it reshapes your entire life. You begin to call it logic. You tell yourself you are thinking things through. You disguise it as caution. You convince yourself you are being careful, responsible, wise. You justify it as being realistic. You lower your expectations, shrink your vision, and accept less than what you are capable of. And it all sounds reasonable. It all feels safe. But beneath all of that, behind every excuse, every delay, every hesitation, it is fear, unseen, but always present. And as long as you remain inside that cycle, as long as fear continues to guide your actions without being questioned, you will never become who you were meant to be. Not because you lack strength, but because you never move beyond what is holding you back. But here is what most people never realize. There is a way out. Not easy, not comfortable, but real. And it begins with something simple. Awareness. Chapter 1. The Invisible Prison. Fear is not loud. It does not always arrive like a storm. It does not always scream or demand your attention. Sometimes it whispers. So softly, you mistake it for your own voice. Wait a little longer. You're not ready yet. What if you fail? What if this goes wrong? And because it sounds reasonable, because it sounds careful, you listen. Not once, but repeatedly. And slowly, without even realizing it, something begins to change. You begin to shrink. Not physically, but internally. Your confidence pulls back. Your courage becomes quieter. Your willingness to take risks starts to fade. You hesitate. At moments that once felt simple, you delay. Even when you know what needs to be done, you overthink, turning small decisions into endless mental battles. Not because you are incapable, not because you lack intelligence or ability, but because you have been conditioned. Conditioned to avoid discomfort. Conditioned to associate risk with danger. Conditioned to choose what feels safe, instead of what leads to growth. And the more you repeat this pattern, the stronger it becomes. It becomes automatic. You don't even question it anymore. You just follow it. This is the first layer of the trap, the invisible prison. There are no walls, no chains, nothing you can physically see. And that is why it is so powerful. Because you believe you are free. You believe you are making your own choices. You believe you are in control. But you're not. Not fully. Because every decision is filtered through fear. You believe you are choosing safety. You tell yourself it's the smart move, the responsible move, the logical move. But in reality, you are choosing stagnation. You are choosing to remain where it is comfortable, even if that comfort is quietly holding you back, even if that comfort is slowly becoming a cage. And the longer you stay here, the more normal it feels, the more permanent it becomes. Until one day, you don't even realize you're trapped. Chapter 2. The illusion of weakness. Listen carefully. Weakness is not the absence of strength. It is not something you are born with or permanently stuck with. It is not a fixed trait. Weakness is the absence of action. It is what happens when strength is left unused. Every time you hesitate, every time you hold back when you know you should move forward, every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce something, a pattern, a quiet, repeated signal to your mind that says, "This is who I am. I am the one who waits. I am the one who avoids. I am the one who doesn't act." And your mind listens. It learns. It adapts. Because the mind does not judge. It simply records. And over time, those repeated actions, or lack of action, begin to form something deeper. They form your identity. Not the identity you were meant to have, but the identity you practiced into existence. You don't just hesitate. You become someone who hesitates. You don't just avoid risk. You become someone who plays small. And once identity is formed, it feels real, permanent, unchangeable. But here is the truth most people never realize. Identity is not fixed. It is trained, built through repetition, shaped by behavior, reinforced through patterns. Which means, if it was built, it can be rebuilt. If it was trained, it can be retrained. If it was conditioned, it can be broken. But not through thinking, not through wishing, through action, deliberate, repeated, uncomfortable action. Because every time you act differently, even in the smallest way, you interrupt the pattern. You send a new signal, a new message to your mind. This is who I am becoming. And at first, it will feel unnatural. It will feel forced. It will feel like you are pretending. But that is exactly how change begins. Not as truth, but as practice. Until one day, what once felt uncomfortable becomes natural, and what once defined you no longer does. Because weakness was never your identity. It was only a pattern. And patterns can be broken. Chapter 3. The Fear Loop. The cycle of fear works like this. Simple, predictable, and dangerously effective. You feel discomfort, a moment of tension, uncertainty, resistance. Something in you says, move forward. But something louder says, step back. So you avoid it. You delay the action. You postpone the decision. You choose the easier path, the familiar path, the safe path. And instantly, you feel something. Relief. A small release of pressure. A sense of comfort. And in that moment, your brain records it. It learns. Avoidance equals safety. Avoidance removes pain. Avoidance protects me. And that lesson becomes stronger than logic. Stronger than intention. Stronger than the part of you that wants to grow. So the next time fear appears, it doesn't feel the same. It feels heavier, more convincing, more real. Because now, it is backed by experience. And without realizing it, you respond the same way. You avoid again. You delay again. You shrink again. And each time this happens, the loop tightens. Fear becomes stronger. And you become smaller. Not in ability, but in expression, in confidence, in willingness to act. This is the loop. A closed system. Self-reinforcing. Relentless. And the most dangerous part? It feels natural. It feels justified. It feels like you are making the right decision. So you don't question it. You live inside it. Day after day. Choice after choice. Until it becomes your normal. And most people spend their entire lives here. Not exploring their full potential. Not stepping beyond their limits. Not becoming who they could have been. Not because they are weak, but because they never interrupt the cycle. They never break the pattern. They never challenge the voice that tells them to stop. And so the loop continues. Unnoticed, unchallenged, unbroken, until it becomes their life. Chapter 4. The Way of the Warrior. A true warrior does not eliminate fear. He does not wait for it to vanish. He does not wish it away. He walks into it. He faces it directly. And this is where most people completely misunderstand what strength really is. Strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is not being unshakable, untouchable, or invincible. Strength is movement despite fear. It is stepping forward when every instinct screams to step back. It is showing up when doubt whispers that you should hide. Every step you take into discomfort, every choice you make in spite of anxiety, every action taken while your mind screams, stop, breaks the cycle. Each act of courage, no matter how small, rewrites your mind. It tells your brain, I am not controlled. I am not trapped. This is the philosophy of disciplined action, the kind of action that is deliberate, repeated, uncomfortable. You do not wait to feel ready. You do not wait for perfect conditions. You do not wait for motivation to appear. You act. You push through. And here is the secret most never realize. Readiness follows action. Courage is born in movement. Confidence grows with repetition. Strength is forged in the moments when fear is loudest, and yet you refuse to stop. This is the way of the warrior. Not perfection, not fearlessness, but persistence, discipline, and the unshakable refusal to remain a prisoner of your own hesitation. Chapter 5. Breaking the cycle. There is only one way out. And it is simple, yet far from easy. It is not complicated. There are no secret techniques, no magical shortcuts. But it is difficult, because it asks more of you than comfort allows. You must do the thing you are avoiding. The thing that makes your heart race, your mind hesitate, your body tense. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Every time fear whispers, stop, wait, not now. You move. Every time your mind protests with excuses, later, tomorrow, when it's easier. You act now. Every small action, every deliberate step into discomfort sends a signal to your brain. You are not controlled by fear. And slowly, over time, the loop begins to crack. The cycle that once felt unbreakable starts to loosen. Not through motivation, not through inspiration, not through hope, prayer, or waiting for courage to magically appear, but through deliberate, consistent, uncomfortable action. Through proving to yourself, again and again, that fear does not control you. Because action is the antidote to fear. Movement is the cure for hesitation. And repetition is the hammer that breaks the invisible chains. Step by step, choice by choice, the prison begins to fall apart. And when it does, you finally realize, freedom was never given. It was earned. Chapter 6. Reclaiming control. The moment you act in the presence of fear, something changes. A subtle shift at first, almost imperceptible, but it grows. You begin to see clearly. The fog of doubt, the weight of hesitation, the illusion of weakness. It starts to lift. And in that clarity, you realize something profound. The fear was never as powerful as it seemed. It was loud, it was convincing, it felt endless. But it was never stronger than your choice to act. And more importantly, you realize that you are not powerless. That the control you thought was lost was never gone. It was waiting inside of you, ready to be reclaimed. This is where control returns. Not control over circumstances, not control over other people, but control over yourself. Control over your choices, your actions, your responses. And that is where true strength lives. Because strength is not something the world gives you. It is something you take. Something you claim, moment by moment, step by step, decision by decision. And once you reclaim it, you are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the captain. You are the force. And fear, once so loud, becomes nothing more than a signal, a guide, a test. Not a jailer, not a master, but a companion you can finally walk alongside, rather than run from. You are not weak. Not now. Not ever. What has held you back, what has made you doubt yourself, what you have mistaken for your limitations, is simply a pattern, a cycle, one you have been repeating, unknowingly, unconsciously, for far too long. A pattern that was never questioned. A script written by fear, reinforced by hesitation, accepted as truth. But now, something has shifted. You see it. You feel it. And once you see the cycle, once you recognize the invisible chains that have been guiding your life, you cannot unsee it. The illusions fall away. The excuses lose their power. The question that once haunted you, why am I like this, loses relevance. Because the real question is no longer about blame, or reason, or why it happened. The question now is, will I break it? Will I step forward when fear whispers stop? Will I act when my mind tells me later? Will I claim the strength that has always been inside me, hidden beneath hesitation, waiting to be realized? Because here is the truth. The door has always been there. It was never locked. It never required permission. It only required action. You did not fail because you were weak. You failed only because you avoided stepping through. But now that you see it, the door is open, and the only thing standing between you and freedom is the choice to walk through it. If this awakens something in you, then you already know what to do. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Act. Because the longer you stay in the cycle, the stronger it becomes. And the moment you step out, you don't just escape fear. You become someone it can no longer control. Welcome to the path. Stay sharp. Subscribe to the Cypher Phantom.